Hello, everyone. I was trying to make this a few days ago and it cut out quite soon. Well, this is about Pete Hegseth, the only person I've ever heard of with the name Hegseth, who's the United States Secretary of Defense, appointed by Donald Trump. He was a very controversial pick. He'd been in the US Army Reserve for a while, I believe that's right. And then he was a journalist with Fox News, if journalist is not too strong a word. And he was a very contentious appointee. And the congressional hearings brought out allegations of alcohol abuse whilst on duty, of sexual harassment, and so on. Nevertheless, he was confirmed. Right, there he is. There's no need for the defense secretary to have any military background whatsoever, but they usually do. It gives them a little bit more credibility. People who really were the top brass tend not to be appointed. So he's been getting on very badly with the Department of Defense. But all right, he's their boss, and the civil servants is their duty to obey his orders, like it or not. Anyway, if the most junior official, or indeed um, soldier, Air Force, whatever person, sailor, did what he did, that person would clearly be hauled over the coals because he was using an insecure means to communicate top secrets, actionable intelligence about these coming airstrikes on the Houthi rebels in Yemen. So that was gravely endangering the lives of US service personnel. So he should have been sacked for a fraction of what he did way back in March 2025 on that Signal group chat where they accidentally um, added Jeffrey Goldberg, who was a well-known Washington D.C. journalist. Okay, so and if that wasn't bad enough, he did it again more recently. That Signal chat defense, the team huddle, and then he gave these military secrets to people who weren't security cleared, like his wife, his brother, his lawyer, his personal lawyer, not someone who in the State was on the Department of Defense, and various other people. I think some of them were in the Department of Defense, and so on, about plans for more attacks against the Houthi positions in Yemen. So it's really staggering. You may remember when Hillary Rodham Clinton did something similar several years ago when she was Secretary of State, as in Foreign Minister under Obama, sending thousands of emails from a personal server. The whole point is that could be hacked. And I know secure communications is vital. That is like lesson one of all these things of diplomacy and the military. I've never been in either, but even I know that. And Republicans were baying for blood, and they were right. And obviously, she should have faced more consequences of that. She was investigated for the FBI. The investigation was closed. It was reopened at a crucial juncture during the 2016 presidential race. And that may have costed the election. It was closed again, and charges were never laid against her. Wrongly, I think. But why is it she gets such bad treatment and Hegseth doesn't? All right, he's done it only twice, and she did it many, many times. The other things, though, this is about military attacks. Hers is about what the United States secretly thinks about this and that. I'm not sure if there's anything to do with espionage, because obviously the State Department is involved with that. The CIA and the State Department overlap. A lot of CIA officers are abroad under diplomatic cover, so therefore they've got immunity from arrest and so forth. So what Hegseth did is truly disgraceful. And then he is using some counter-espionage methods, but to root out the moles, whoever's informing the press of what's going on, how we seek to be unpopular, and so on. And he doesn't seem to think it's a big thing. And Donald Trump's given him a pass, saying that he's doing a great job, has absolutely no intention of dismissing Hegseth. What example does that set for everybody else in the Department of Defense and in the US military? A fish rots from the head down. He's got to lead by an example, be the change you wish to see, model that behavior if you're in a leadership position. Because if this atrocious behavior is permissible in the person right at the apex of the organization, then everybody else can get away with worse behavior. But no, it doesn't work like that. Is one rule for Trump's cronies and another for everybody else. Law breaking is absolutely fine with that. Like, how he's Trump blatantly disregarded the law in his first term, doing so again with regard to people who were deported when they shouldn't have been deported and now not going to be brought back to the United States, whatever the court says, and so on. So, Trump has long incited violence against peaceful protesters at his rallies, beat the shit out of them and stuff like that. We know he's a convicted criminal, so it shouldn't surprise us. So Hegseth is manifestly unsuitable for the office that he holds. And he's done this twice now in under 3 months. So I have a hunch he's going to do it several more times. He didn't learn his lesson. You thought you might have been super cautious after that, but he's very cavalier in its attitude to these things. So there'll be more recklessness, and lives may be lost because loose lips sink ships. um, if you were a foreign intelligence agency, he's the one to spy on, because it's going to be very, very easy to hack into his communications because he's so lax with it. A lot of things, they've got a work phone, they've got a personal phone. They do not talk about work matters on the personal phone and things like that. I mean, in the FBI, in all sorts of organizations, in the intelligence community, and indeed things which have nothing to do with intelligence in the financial sector and things like that. So I'm reckon he'll screw up again. And obviously, the Pentagon is hopping mad about it. Obviously, they say some of the US military are deeply unhappy about it. The example set and the way he's endangered their personnel and is so blasé about it is, unrepentant. And that Trump doesn't really think that Hegseth should fess up, should face any consequences for this. So he's got away with this behavior. And so what Trump demands is canine fealty, and he's getting it from Hegseth, who's been a cheerleader of his for several years. It's not about disinterested service, doing the best you can for the public, upholding the highest standards of ethics, working hard, trying to deliver good outcomes for the public. No, that doesn't matter at all. Is really just abasing yourself before Donald J. Trump. He wishes he was an absolute monarch, no guardrails, and doesn't regard there as being any limitation of what he can do. Is not beholden to the United States Constitution, the law, things like that, and just is frustrated that anyone would set a limit to what he's able to do, which is why he's already talking about this third term, despite that being explicitly disowned in the U.S. Constitution under a amendment passed under Dwight D. Eisenhower in the late 1950s. I forget the name of the actual amendment. So I think that Hegseth won't survive this term, but he's going to survive obviously the next few weeks, maybe the next few months. But I would think within the next 3.5 years, he will screw up so badly, even Trump will turf him out, as he did some people in his first cabinet. And I've got to say, they've not been dropping like flies quite as much as they were in Trump's first presidential term. If you look at his first 3 months, in 2017, he got rid of rather more people very, very quickly, off of being insecure with national security issues. I remember the Republicans were the party of national security. I remember George H.W. Bush, that's George W. Bush Sr., he'd give a speech denouncing people who revealed the identities of CIA assets abroad, saying that they were the lowest of the low. Now, Hegseth hasn't quite done that. He's done this through inadvertence, through just being slovenly. And this sort of laxity wouldn't be tolerated to someone much lower down the chain of command. So it really is shameful and shocking that he should get away with it, that he's not even been publicly reprimanded, no rebuke from Trump or anybody else. But obviously there's deep disquiet within the US Defense Department and the ranks of the military. Anyway, thank you for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Toodaloo.